Hey, good morning. It's Edna here, live from White City, Saskatchewan. And today we've got a few good questions to get started with. So I always like that. It makes it a little bit easier. Some of the stuff we're going to talk about today is property management. I got quite a few questions on property management, how to deal with vacancies, your tenants, and stuff like that. And then I got a really good question from somebody who's looking at getting into real estate investing and is wondering how to manage the time to be able to do that. So I've got a good story actually that goes with time management and how it can possibly work for you. And so if you have any questions, like I said before, just ask away, and I'll look through the feed and make sure that I answer those questions for you. So the topic idea today is basically vacancies and tenants. So if you're a real estate entrepreneur, properties are your product, investors and tenants are your customers. So you have to know how to market them and take care of them. So here's some questions that people like to know. First of all, what is better, a month-to-month lease or an annual lease or a 6-month lease? And you know what? The answer to that is it depends. You know, a lot of it depends on what's happening in the market. So say, for example, if we're looking at a market that's going down, if you can get your tenant into a year-long lease and lock them in at a decent rate before it's dropping, that's good for you. And then you know, you at least got the person in, you got them committed to another year. Now, if the market drops significantly, what I would suggest then is that you be proactive and go to your tenant and offer a reduction as well, because you don't want to lock them in as something bad for them. You want to keep your best tenants, and the best way to do that is by being fair to them too. You don't want to charge them more than the new tenants that you're bringing in either. So offer them a break of some sort, because you know what, they'll appreciate it, and they'll also stay when you have to increase it. So another, like, it depends. So if you think it's going to be going up, then a shorter term lease is better for you, because you can maybe get a 6-month lease, get the person in, and if the rents start going up, then you can give them the rent increase after that point. So that's where the depends comes in. Now, one thing that's been suggested to me recently, and we haven't done this ourselves, we're just going to start incorporating some of it. If you have iffy tenants that you're not 100% sure on, put them on month to month at the beginning as a trial period. Because if they're on a month-to-month lease, you don't have to keep them. It actually protects you more than it protects them. And if they're iffy, you can say, you know what, I do a trial period, 3-month trial before I give you a full lease. This is what I expect. I expect the rent on the first of the month. And I do quarterly inspections, so I'll get to see your property, make sure you're taking care of it. Because you know what, we want good tenants, and if you're a good tenant, we'll take care of you. And so then from there, you've kind of got them on notice, and they're hopefully going to treat your property really good. And then they'll sometimes you have to train people how to be a good tenant. This is what a good tenant looks like to us. This is what we do for our good tenants. We give an annual gift, maybe something around Christmas time. One thing that was suggested recently from Dean Graziosi, he says, and again, we haven't incorporated this. Sometimes we're a little slow to move on some of this stuff, but he gives a $25 gift card to everybody who pays their rent on the first of the month. And I thought that was a really good idea. Another thing to do is give a move-in basket. We used to do that, and then we got away from it, and we're thinking of incorporating it again. But a move-in basket with just some amenities that they might need right away, like a little bottle of shampoo or some soap or some garbage bags and toilet paper and all that kind of good stuff. Maybe some chocolates, maybe a deck of cards to keep the kids entertained while they're doing all the move and stuff like that, or some dice. Those were some of the things that we included in there. Oh, I got a bunch of people joining here. So I'm going to say good morning. Good morning, Amanda. Good morning, Stephanie, Chandel. Good morning, Audrey. Good morning, Misty. Good morning, Shirley. Good morning, Minaj. And good morning, Tyler. Awesome. Well, glad to have you guys on here. So now I think I already discussed the discounts for earlier on-time payment. How do we handle late payments and NSFs? Well, in the lease agreement, we put down there what we charge for an NSF, because we do get charged every time it happens. So we write it right in the contract. I believe it's like $40 NSF fee. And late fees, we have that in the contract too. And I think it's based on per day, if I remember correctly. And the reason we changed it to that is, there's no incentive for them to pay early if your fee is $25, no matter if they pay on the 2nd of the month or the 31st of the month. There's no incentive. So if you do so much per day, then they've got an incentive to get it paid as quickly as possible. Now, one thing we do is if we've got a really good tenant and they just, they're paying mostly on time and they come up with, like they just had a challenge, their check didn't come in on time or something, we work with them. We don't just automatically, we might put that the fees on there, but we won't chase them down for it. Some are just good, but you know what, you want to work with your tenants again, and if they're good tenants, do what you need to do to keep them, especially in a market right now. Great ways to fill vacancies, some promotional ideas. We've used things like half a month free rent if they're or give them early move in. So maybe move in on the 15th and start paying rent on the 1st. We do get the rent up front and the security deposit up front if we're doing that. Another thing we've done is 13th month free. We've done 7th month free if we receive the rent on the 1st of the month as agreed on. If you don't pay on the 1st of the month, that 7th month is not free. So those are some of the things, promotions we've done. We tried giving TVs at one point because it was suggested to us, but it didn't really work. So I wouldn't suggest TVs. They actually had nicer TVs that than what we were giving away. They already had the really big screen, and I think we were just giving an average size. So it wasn't a big thing. Sometimes some other things we've done is half a month security deposit when the markets are really rough. Again, we're hoping that we attract the good tenants and give them a bit of a bonus to do that. How to market your property to tenants. We use Kijiji a lot. Good pictures are really, really important. And so if you can really highlight the features of your unit with good pictures, that makes all the difference. People like to look at pictures, even though they'll probably want to look at it in real life. But if you've got a nice picture of it being staged, that gives people an idea of what it could look like when they're all said and done. Chandel says, how did the 7th month free thing work? Well, basically that was, if they stayed with us, if they signed a 12-month lease, we gave them the 7th month free if they paid on the 1st of the month every single month. So it was kind of a middle of the road thing, but they had to stay it was still a 12-month lease. So that's how that worked. What else do we got here? The other thing too is if you're using a property management company, they'll do their job. They're good at it. But if you've got a couple vacancies more than you need or than you want, and you've got some time to get in there and get proactive, put some ads in yourself. Talk to your other tenants in the building and see if they have some friends that would be interested to move in. People aren't going to refer just anybody because they want to keep good people in the building. So ask your tenants, give them an incentive, give them a referral fee, anything like that. Chandel is asking, how many actually got their 7th month free? I'm intrigued. You know, I've seen lots get them. But I've also seen, Dawn has actually told me, she says it's amazing how some people will go 4 months and then miss. And so then they don't get their 7th month free. You know, again, if it was just something, some dumb error at the bank or whatever, we don't back out on that. But if they're, you know, they didn't reach their part of the agreement, we don't have to get the 7th month free. So I think she said there's quite a few that actually don't qualify after the 7th month. You know, it's a universal challenge. Oh, excuse me. That a lot of tenants nowadays just think they don't have to pay their rent on the first of the month. I don't know where that comes from. I rented for many years, and I didn't even know that that was a possibility. You know, I just had my rent check ready on the first of the month, and I can't remember, they picked it up or we dropped it off or whatever. It just was never a thought in my mind. But so many tenants seem to know that they've got that right, that they don't have to pay on the first and you can't evict them and all. Like, they know all the rules better than we do. I didn't even know I don't even think when I rented that I knew there was such a place as the rentalsman. So it's kind of interesting. People get to know, if they get to know if they're going to use it. An idea that somebody had too was to create a private Facebook group for your multi-unit properties. Showcase a property and share it in other groups when you have vacancies. You know, that's a good idea. But if you have to be careful, because, you know, some tenants are just going to complain no matter what. And we've had this experience. Generally, what we do is if we have somebody that's complaining from the day they move in, we just give them the option to move, because you know what, no place is perfect. Even, you know, your own home is not perfect. And, you know, a rental is a rental. And if they sign off that they're happy to move in, and then they come back to, well, my sink has a scratch in it, my screen has a hole big enough a mosquito could come in, I have I don't know, you name it. Sometimes they just have the most dumb requests ever. And so you have to monitor, like, do you want to keep somebody like that, or do you want to move them? One time we had an error, actually. We have a side-by-side duplex. One has a second bathroom and the other one doesn't. And we had tenants in the one that had the only single bathroom, but we showed the one with the 2 bathrooms. And even though in our ad it said one bathroom, because we'd showed them the 2 bathroom, in their mind they thought it was a 2 bathroom. And they said, you know what, we're really counting on that second bathroom. What can you do? And you know what, we said, you know, nothing. We that's our mistake. We screwed up. Do you want to move? And they did choose to move, because it wasn't a couple. It was roommates, and one was a man and one was a woman. They didn't want to share the bathroom. And so it was a big deal. And we didn't want to hold them to their lease, even though they'd signed the 1 bathroom lease. In their mind, it was 2. So we just said, you know, we'll work with you. We'll find you another place, or we'll let you go. We won't lock you into the lease. So, you know, you have to work with that kind of stuff too. One limiting belief for people to get into investing in properties, and I hear this all the time: I don't want to have to deal with tenants and toilets. I don't want to get that phone call in the middle of the night. Well, first of all, we've owned properties now since 2007. I've never got a call about a toilet in the middle of the night. I have got a call about somebody pulling the fire alarm because they couldn't reach our property manager. I don't think they could wake her up. So they called us, and then my husband had to meet the fire department at the door. As it was something that we needed to do anyway. There was some sprinkler went off, you know, and there was no fire, but because the sprinkler went off, they were called and whatnot. So it didn't hurt us to get up and go check on that. I didn't want our building burning down. We one time were called by the cops. They needed to get into a suite because there was I think a drug bust or something, and they knew they were in there, but they weren't answering the door, so we had to go let them in. So that was another time, and that was something that we would have opted to do anyway, not send. My daughter actually does our property management. She's got a 9-year-old, so she lives by herself. She couldn't go out in the middle of the night and do that. When my husband and I live together, he could easily go out and look after that. So, sometimes we choose to do that kind of stuff, but not once. First of all, how many people use the toilet in the middle of the night? It's not all the time. It's usually first thing in the morning, last thing at night, that sort of thing. And generally, we just call a plumber. We don't run over there and try to unplug their toilet. So just so you know, there's many ways to invest in real estate where you never have to even think about the tenants or the toilets. Another question was property manager versus self-managed. When to make the transition and what to budget for property management. So we recommend property management from day one. We really feel that it limits your growth as a real estate investor if you're managing your own properties. Now, with that said, sometimes it makes sense to do it for a while, maybe just to learn what it's all about, and so that you can train your property manager how you want to handle it. Sometimes you do want to do it to save the money. So say you have, a fourplex and you'd save maybe $400 a month and your spouse isn't working. Maybe she's home looking after the children. Maybe you want her to, or him, to collect the rents and whatever. Just know that if you're going to move above 4 units, that at some point you're going to have to get a property manager, or it really, really limits your growth. So here's something we do right from day one when we're analyzing the properties. Even though most sellers will say, oh, we just self-manage, we don't charge property management. They'll tell you that. Analyze and put yourself in a fee for managing the properties. Even if you're bringing in a joint venture partner and you initially say you're going to manage the property, charge that fee to do so. Then that way, you're used to paying it, whether it's to yourself or to someone else. And if you notice, or when the time comes that you want to grow, then you get the property management in place to do so. So then you can still grow. Now, I'm just trying to think. Some of the biggest challenges I've seen with investors that get started is, when they're saving, they're trying to save that money, and then they get all tied up in the work and they realize that they've really just created themselves another job. Sometimes it's not worth it. Like, think about what you're earning at your job. It might be better for you to just work an hour overtime and hire it out, as opposed to you going over and trying to fix the plumbing or the heating or the leaky faucet or the eaves troughs need cleaning out. Any of that kind of stuff. You can you can take over, but you can also hire it out. And I prefer to hire it out. There's you don't have to pay really high prices. You can manage the team yourself. Maybe get somebody who will do it for a lesser price than, say, a property management firm. So hope that helps. Next week, we're going to talk about how to avoid the 40-year plan and get into the 5-year plan. So I think you'll really like that. Now, this is one that I really wanted to answer because I had somebody reach out to me just after last week's call, and he said, Edna, I work full-time. And by full-time, what I mean is in many hours during the week, I'm 9 to 9 or 8 till 9, and Saturday. So he says, I got one day of the week and a couple hours in the evening where I get to spend it with my family. So, I just do. I spend it with my family. And so he's wondering what he would have to do to get into the industry. So with that said, I'm going to actually tell you a story of something that actually happened to someone. So this fellow had a job at this same business for a lot of years. And the business was slowing down. A lot of their work was getting outsourced to China and different places like that. So the business was slowing down. So the owner came around and he handed out a bunch of layoff slips, and he said, I'm really sorry to do this, but I have to downsize until I can figure out how to compete with some of the competitors that are coming on board and still make this a lucrative business. And if I keep you guys all on, I'm heading to bankruptcy, so I can't do it. And so most of them just accepted the pink slip and went out and started looking for another job. But there was this one fellow, he said, he went to his boss and he said, I absolutely love working here. I've always loved this company. I've loved the business. I love the way you treat people. Is there any possible way that I could stay on and help you do what you need to do to regroup and build this back up to the great company it's always been? And the owner said, you know what, there's one way that you could really make yourself valuable to me and probably help out and because he says, I like working with you too. He says, you've been a great worker, but he says, I need to, I don't need to decrease your salary. You can probably keep it at the same, but I need you to work an extra day every week. And I need you to put in an extra hour every day without charging me for it. Can you do that? And the guy said, yeah, I can do that. He says, I could put in an extra day or an extra hour a day. And I don't even think it was every Saturday, every month. I think it was every other Saturday or something like that. He says, absolutely, I'd be willing to do that. How long do you think I'll have to do that? And he said, you know, if you do that for 5 years, here's my guarantee to you. He says, if you do that for 5 years, I guarantee you that you'll have your salary back to what it was and more. And your hours can cut back probably to half the time you're working now. And so the guy said, yes, I'm going to do it. So he made the commitment and he worked an extra hour at the end of the day. He worked every Saturday or every other Saturday. And at the beginning, his wife had full, she was on board with him fully. She could understand. But after a while, you know, it was 3 years in and she's going, you know what? We're not seeing any changes. Your wages haven't got back up. I just think the company's taking advantage of you, getting free money from you or free work time from you, and you'll never, ever get out of this. I think you should just quit and go get a new job. And the guy said, no, you know, I can see things happening. We're starting to turn the corner. We're having, you know, good business meetings. We've got some really good plans on how we're going to, you know, beat back the competition. He says, I think I can do this. And so that with that story said, they did make it work. 5 years later, the guy was able to cut back on his hours, increase his salary, and everything worked out for him. So if that happened to you, if you were told you're going to lose your job or you have to start putting in more hours, you probably could do it, right? So this fellow who works 8 till 9 already, do you take a lunch hour? Do you take a supper break? You probably do. What about taking that break at your desk and listening to the webinar, like, because he was asking, how could I do your course and still do this work? Listen to the webinar as you're taking your lunch break, even maybe half of it at lunchtime, half of it at your supper break. That wouldn't interfere at all with the time you have with your family. And then, you know, if you're not getting off till 8 at night anyway, chances are your kids are sleeping already. What if you took an extra half hour from 8 till 8:30 and, you know, started looking for properties, started building your power team, started, you know, maybe making phone calls on your coffee break instead of just vegging out and maybe playing a video game or something, you know? Those are the suggestions I have for being proactive with your time. And you know, it's still the same, maybe half an hour difference, and doesn't even have to be every day. If you could take half your lunch break and half your supper break and listen to the course, you could learn. And then if you could take another half hour to an hour a week, you know, because if you put in an hour a week, or an hour a day, there's your 7 hours. And I say that you can get that homework done in 5 to 10 hours a week. So maybe you spend the 7 hours listening to the webinar and then the other 3 hours doing the homework. You know what? After your 12-week course is over, still keep the same schedule, but now you build your power team. So maybe it takes you a little bit longer to build your power team. Maybe it takes you the second 12 weeks, as opposed to the people who have more time during the course. They can get their power team built. They can start finding money. They can start doing those things, making offers. and it maybe take you a little bit longer, but it's still better than doing nothing and not making any changes at all. So I hope that helps, and I hope that makes sense. And another way is actually track your time. Take a little graph paper sheet and track your time. And you might find time during your day that you're just wasting. So that might be, sitting having coffee with friends. Maybe you don't cut it back every single day, but maybe 3 out of 5 days you stop the coffee with your friends and you do some extra work. It'll absolutely change your life. And in the long run, would you be willing to give up 5 years of 1 hour a day to make it, to get your 5-year plan done versus your 40-year plan? And just kind of pointing that out because that's something that we're going to be talking about next week. Audrey says, yeah, you're right. Use your off time wisely. Because, yeah, we all have off time. Use unproductive time after 8 p.m. is when we were building our business. Yeah, you know what? That's exactly true. I actually listened, didn't listen to it, I read it, but I listened to it in the past. There's a fellow who's like a multi-billionaire, and people were asking him, how'd you do that? And he said, I worked full time just like you did, but when I was off work, I was doing other things. I was networking with people I needed to network. I was using my lunch hour proactively to be studying other things and making myself better. And so that's really the key. Take your non-productive time instead of, and not to say you have to do this every single day of the week, every single day of the month, but do you really need to go to the bar every Friday after work? Do you really need to sleep in till noon every Saturday because you went to the bar every Friday after work? Those are times with just a slight shift, you could change your mindset, change your life. And maybe instead of going on that weekend camping trip or weekend sledding trip or whatever it is, maybe you go to a seminar or a convention where you might meet other like-minded people and hang out with other like-minded people who show you the way. We still network as much as we can. Last night, we actually went to an event in Regina that we were invited to. And it's a bunch of angel investors that are getting together, and they want to help out young entrepreneurs in Saskatchewan, and I love that. So you know what, it costs $250 to join. They have meetings, they put entrepreneurs in front of us, and just like I like to get investors in front of my group, they like to get angel investors in front of their group. And some investments are just like $5,000. So those ones could be home runs. You could lose all your money, but they could be home runs too. So again, just their networking ability. There's people there that have sold their multi-million-dollar businesses and want to give back to the community. And this is a way, because they're still entrepreneurs at heart and love that whole side of the business. They want to mentor people. They want to give back and even fund some of this stuff. So I'm excited to be part of something like that. I was happy that they invited us out, and we got to meet a few other people that are in the same position as us to give back and do that kind of stuff. So we're always networking. My marketing team is connecting me with people, and I have a coffee booked next week. Just from some marketing they did. And I said, oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize you were doing that. We should talk. Something in the real estate, and now we're getting together. So, always networking, always building the team around you, getting to know different people. Like I think I was mentioning that we have on Boxing Day, when we see, this is proactive, this is productive, right? We're driving to Meadow Lake. What are we going to do? So our kids are on their iPads and iPhones and watching a movie in the back seat. We put on a webinar. Boxing Day, 11 o'clock in the morning, we're driving to Meadow Lake, and we're listening to a webinar about buying businesses with none of our own money. So before we got to Saskatoon, we finished listening to the webinar, and I said to Warren, this sounds like something we should do. What do you think? Absolutely. We bought the course. You can buy it from your phone online. And after we bought the course, I think it was $12.95 to buy the course. He'd offered an upgrade to mentor through the course, and generally it's charged out at I think $12,000 a year, but he was offering it this time for $5,000, and so we're in his mentored program for 5,000 US, but and you know what? Already, and it's January 26th yesterday, so a month in, we've done 90% of the modules, had our first coaching call with the guy, and figured out that a real estate deal that we're working on is probably better to be bought as a business. Isn't that cool? And that's after conversations, getting the old wheels turning in your head, and just thinking about something different, creative thinking. Jancy says is that Jancy said that? Oh, good morning, Jancy. Someone said that's totally us. I can't see. Oh, that's Chandel. That's totally us too. Always training, and I know that with Jason and Chandel, when they're driving to my house, if we have to have a meeting in person or they're helping me do videos, they're listening to webinars, they're brainstorming, they're stuff like that. Why? Just play on your phone on Facebook. Why? There's so much wasted time in a person's day that you could be using it productively. So the first thing is track it and just see where that time could come in. And it might be, you just zone out in your chair for 15 minutes. Well, that could be productive time. Good morning, Lindsay. Connie. Hi, Connie. Hi, Carm. Hi, Susie. Hi, Corny. Hi, Daniel. Good morning, Robert. Good morning, Matthew. Good morning, Mike. Oh, good crowd. So, here I think I got a question. Oh, Ryan Cody McMorris. Hey, well, I see you in Orlando in a couple weeks. No, sorry, I can't make it. You know what? We're not sure how we're going to do this year. We've had so much stuff going on close to home, so many opportunities that it's just hard for us to leave. We're trying to actually book a holiday right now. My granddaughter's going to come with us on a holiday this winter. And of course, now with the girls being older, we got to book it around the February break. So we're looking at flights and we're going, oh my God, flights are twice as much as usual. And believe me, it doesn't matter how much money you make, you still think about that. And should we change it to a different week? But we got one girl that's in cheer and it's really difficult. She's had to commit that she's got to show up every Sunday. So it's difficult for us now to take time off. Whereas before we would just say, whatever, we're going in January, we're going whenever we want to. And so it's a little bit tougher planning that. But this morning, I got something on my email that said something about take a cruise. So now we're actually looking at maybe taking a cruise because Warren and I love cruises. And who knows, it might end up being through Orlando. So if it is, I'll make sure and call you guys and we'll get together. What else do we got here? Good morning, Janelle. Chandel says, I love using an app timer for time tracking. It's pretty cool to see what you do in a day. Good morning, Daniel. You know what? Yeah, it is cool to see what you do in a day. Daniel, actually, I just answered your question just before you got on, so you'll have to listen to the recording. I covered off on time tracking, how to get how to make some time in your day, and I do absolutely understand your family's so important. You want to spend some time with them, but there's a few tips I gave, so I hope they help you. And like Chandel says, they've got an app timer for time tracking. So look that in the comments and you'll be able to see that. I'm a pen and paper person, so I find that I just write stuff down. Like, if I find sometimes that time's getting away on me, I start writing things down and saying, what time did I waste today? And I realize oh, I got onto that email, and instead of just deleting it, I read a little further, and and then I listened to a video, and because that's the kind of stuff that happens to me, and it's always learning, but still sometimes it's stuff maybe that I don't need to be learning. I just want to, I have a craving or an obsession to always be getting better, so I'm always looking for stuff like that. But after if I get too many of those on the go, I delete them and I unsubscribe and I unsubscribe. So that's another thing. Unsubscribe on your emails. And then, what, for people who are very, very, very highly productive, they don't even read their own emails. They have an assistant that reads their emails, and he or she only forwards emails that that particular person has to deal with themselves. If the assistant can help and deal with it, then they send it saying done, and then the CEO can know that that part's already been looked after. So that's a valuable assistant that'll do stuff like that for you. So any other questions when it comes to that? I see, oh my gosh, we're at 10:37. So I don't know how time flies by so fast when I'm doing these. That's like just about 40 minutes from when we started. So if there's no questions, thanks again very much for being on. I hope I helped some of you. And I do have some students that have some really great deals right now. So if that's something that interests you, reach out to me and I'll share some of them with you. We've got some, we got a couple apartment buildings under contract that are just amazing deals. We've got a fix and flip deal that somebody's trying to raise capital for, different things like that. So if some of those interest you, reach out to me and we can have a conversation about what you're looking for, and maybe we can help you with some of that. Just a reminder again, our 3-day event's coming up at the end of March. Lock your seat in, $99, lock your seat in, and then you get it back at the door. The sooner you book, the easier it is for us to plan, because we got to have meals and all that kind of stuff looked after. So I think Chandel's going to be sending something out again in the next couple of days. You'll get a link that takes you straight to the payment. And would love to meet a lot of you. This has been so exciting. I'm starting to recognize some of these names that come on every morning and listen. And again, Monday, Mindset Monday, 10 a.m., same time. Getting great feedback on that. And I started working on my mindset course this week, so I've already got a basic outline of what's going to be coming. So you're going to start seeing some stuff on that coming up pretty soon as well. Good morning, Pawn. And Audrey says, thank you for your time. Okay, you know what? Thank you guys for your time as well. And I'll sign off now, and I'll talk to you all on Monday. Bye for now.